While I will speak on what is popularly described as the Bhima Koregaon case, I think what I'm trying to also indicate through that illustration is that how is the legal infrastructure and the legal regime today being deployed and weaponized in order to actually suppress, crush, not just dissent, but any form of freedom of speech and expression, any form of freedom of association, and any form of opposition to the dominant politics, which is a dangerous combination of not just Hindutva supremacist, but also in conjunction with corporates, both Indian and multinational. And that is the context in which we need to understand what in India we have started, we were calling as BK16, because there were 16 persons who are incarcerated, and today they are BK15, with the Jesuit priest and activist Father Stan Swami having lost his life while in judicial custody in the month of July. And very often nowadays in India, we use the phrase that the process is the punishment. I think with the judicial, institutional death of Father Stan Swami, we need to now understand that these people have been condemned to punishment. This is a sentence that he has suffered without any due process or trial. And that is where BK15 is now located. Very quickly to say, who are these people? In a country where the Modi regime now since 2014 onwards has had a brute majority in parliament and is perhaps one of the richest political parties in the world. The opposition today is being provided by civil society activists. And therefore, the targeting of civil society by the government has to be understood in that context. Who are these people? I'll take just a few examples. As I mentioned, Father Stan Swami, who had dedicated his life to seeing what could be done for the betterment of the lives of Adivasis or the indigenous populations, who are on all indicators amongst the most oppressed sections in Indian society. Sudha Bharadwaj, again, organizing workers, organizing indigenous populations for securing their socio-economic political rights. Mahesh Raut, a young activist, organizing people in rural India to be able to protect their land and access to natural resources. Each one of them are people who not only disagree and dissent from the form of governance, including the economic model of governance that India has adopted, but who are actively engaged in organizing people peacefully to secure their rights. And that is the context in which they need to be, this case needs to be understood. The arrest began in June of 2018. It's a case that has not yet been closed by the investigating agency, which has passed from the hands of the anti-terror squad of Maharashtra to the National Investigating Agency. It is not the case of the state that any of these people were linked to any violence at Bhima Koregaon on January 1st, 2018 in Maharashtra, nor is it anybody's case that any of them have actively participated in violence. What links, what is it which has brought upon them this draconian Unlawful Activities Prevention Act? The evidence, the state claims, are a bunch of documents found in devices, because when the searches and seizures took place and raids took place in the homes of the activists, what was picked up were devices, electronic devices, phones, computers, laptops, hard disks. And it was claimed in a sensational claim, before putting in court, it's of course thrown in the media in India very frequently, that letters have been found on devices of one of them. I'll leave aside for the moment whether these letters will ever be admissible under law. They are not dated, they are not signed, they are typed documents. Whether they will pass this test of scrutiny of evidence law in a court of law will remain to be seen. These documents it was claimed, link all of them found in the device of one to various Maoist activities and organizations. In the last year, the defendants have actually got two of them have got their devices analyzed, which has now told us through Arsenal Digital Forensic investigation that these documents, which is the fulcrum of the case of the state, and for which reason they have been incarcerated since 2018, these were planted through a malware called NetWire. So the authenticity, the genuineness of these documents, which the accused have consistently from inception denied complete knowledge of, is today under a huge cloud. And we have the state not responding to it, not even saying we are open to, if the state is sure of its case, they should say, let's have an open investigation. Let's have an independent forensic investigation. The state is opposing it tooth and nail. So what is the purpose of this incarceration? And a law which actually makes bail near impossible, because the court has to see whether prima facie there is no case against the accused. It is a little laughable. Anybody with even rudimentary knowledge of law would know that when the police is going to file its documents, its charge sheet as it's called in India, it will make out some case. And if in those documents you're going to make outlandish claims that these people are linked to Maoist activity, they're going to assassinate the prime minister, it will sound like a very large, serious, dangerous conspiracy to overwhelm the mind of the court. And the court is supposed to see whether prima facie there is a case made out of terrorism. Again, a phrase that has defied any legal definition internationally. And because of that, they remain incarcerated since 2018 with no trial in progress. Charge sheets after charge sheets being filed, people being arrested, activists and human rights defenders being arrested on the basis of evidence that will never withstand judicial scrutiny. And yet they have been able to therefore silence people who would have been able to organize democratically, people whose rights are being taken away, while corporates are marauding areas where indigenous populations are surviving, as well as have a chilling effect on anyone who wishes to engage in democratic public activities of association and protest. So this is the way law has been used. And I think it is time for human rights defenders, human rights lawyers to revisit what is the purpose that law is today playing and the legal system is today playing, and what is the challenge that it throws to democracy itself.